Why would God allow 2 bears to kill 42 young lads simply for saying Elisha was bald? There are a few key issues we must understand in regards to this account of the youths cursing Elisha. Cultural context is critical to understanding this issue. Let's take a look at 2 Kings 2:23-24. The text reads, "From there Elisha went up to Bethel. As he was walking along the road, some youths came out of the town and jeered at him. 'Go on up, you baldhead,' they said. 'Go on up, you baldhead.' He turned around, looked at them, and called down a curse on them in the name of the Lord. Then 2 bears came out of the woods and mauled 42 of the youths. It seems unbelievable that God would cause 2 bears to maul a group of children for making fun of a man for being bald. First, the King James Version has done us a disservice by translating the term as children. Some version says these were little children, boys or small boys. The original Hebrew version of this passage that was translated to English is the phrase Na'ar Katan. The phrase is a combination of the noun Na'ar and the adjective Katan. What do these mean? The word Na'ar, which is often rendered as children boys, has a broad range of meaning. It can denote everyone from baby Moses in Exodus 2 verse 6 to fully grown Absalom in 2 Samuel 14 verse 21. A Na'ar can also designate a servant as in Genesis 22 verse 3 or armor-bearer Judges 9:54. And significantly for us, a priest, 1 Samuel 2:17. The Hebrew adjective, katan, means small or young. The question is, how young? This same Hebrew combination, Na'ar Katan, is used to describe a mature rebel named Hadad the Edomite in 1 Kings 11:17. Likewise, when Solomon takes the throne at about the age of 20, he describes himself as a Na'ar Katan, 1 Kings 3:7. Obviously, he and Hadad were not elementary-aged little boys. Thus, at a bare minimum, we can say it's highly unlikely the people who mocked Elisha were little children or small boys. It's much more probable that these were young men and they were called Na'ar, not in reference to their sex, male, but their office, servants. Another notable part of the verse is the fact that the bears mauled 42 of the youths. This indicates that there were more than 42 youths involved. This is a large number of people, and they were probably an organized group that had gone out to challenge Elisha. This was not a small group of children making fun of a bald man. Rather, it was a large demonstration of young men who assembled for the purpose of mocking a prophet of God. Their mockery implied a malicious intent, especially when the culture of the time insisted on showing respect to their elders. Now, let's look deeper into the greater picture and context of this story. To understand a Bible story, we have to pay careful attention to geography. This story takes place at Bethel. At this time, Bethel had become one of the 2 main worship centers for the northern kingdom. And not just worship, but rebellious, covenant-breaking, idolatrous worship. Jeroboam founded Dan in the north and Bethel in the south as his kingdom's 2 alternatives to Jerusalem, 1 Kings 12:25-33. He set up golden calves at these sites, ordained non-Aaronic priests, changed the time of the festivals, and Baal worship soon reigned supreme. Bethel became basically one big uplifted middle finger to everything Moses had commanded. In this story, Elisha is repeating the pattern established by Joshua. How so? After the death of Moses, Joshua took over leadership of Israel, left the wilderness, miraculously crossed the Jordan on dry ground, and led Israel in a campaign to destroy the idolaters of Canaan. Likewise, after the departure of Elijah, Elisha takes over the prophetic office, leaves the wilderness, repeats the miracle of crossing the Jordan on dry ground, 2 Kings 2:14, and enters the land to go to war with idolaters at the city of Bethel. When God's prophet Elisha approached this idolatrous city, The young men mocked him, saying, "Go up, you bald head! Go up, you bald head!" Keep in mind that, right before this, Elijah had gone up to heaven in a fiery chariot. 2 Kings 2. Furthermore, the statement, "Go up, you bald head," has cultural significance. First of all, "go up" is probably a reference to Elisha's predecessor, Elijah, ascending to heaven. In other words, they are stating they want Elisha gone, and since Elijah had gone on to the next world, the implication is they wanted Elisha dead. Also, the epithet baldhead was one of contempt in the East, applied to a person even with a bushy head of hair. Not only were they ridiculing his lack of hair, which, in the Old Testament, was often associated with a skin disease. Lepers had to shave their heads as well, so such a statement could easily have been a deliberate and malicious insult, something dangerous in a mob that can quickly get out of hand. Given the challenge of the youths, their intimidating number which could constitute a mob, their veiled threat, the contemptuous attitude, and the fact that Elisha was the prophet of God, the Lord allowed the youths to be destroyed. This small story is part of the bigger story of the ongoing war between God and his worship, and false gods and their worship. Elisha represented the one, these mocking young men the other. In other words, this is a small battle in the ongoing war between light and darkness, orthodoxy and idolatry, God and gods. This story is a minor detail in the major drama. Also, just as God used hornets, Exodus 23:28, Joshua 24:12, to attack the original idolaters in Canaan, so he used 2 female bears to attack these new idolaters in his land. Elisha pronounced a curse upon them, and that curse took the form of tooth and claw,